Superman Red Sun is the brand new direct-to-DVD animated movie from DC Entertainment. It also just so happens to be the first DC animated movie I've covered on the channel in, well, a really, really long time. Why, you might be asking? Well, because I used to love them all, and yet for a number of reasons, and with only a few exceptions, after Flashpoint Paradox, the movies really took a major hit in terms of quality. And quite honestly, I don't think I'm alone in saying that, but you know what? There seems to be something in the water over at DC Animation, because there's this real renewed vigor that cannot be denied with stuff like Young Justice returning, the DC showcases, CW Seed having some really great projects, and of course Harley Quinn, which I just finished up covering its first season. But how exactly is this newest movie? Well, the short version is I liked it way more than I thought I would, and as for the longer version, well, let's get right on into it, shall we? Superman Red Sun, for those of you who aren't aware, is an adaptation of Mark Millar's 3-issue comic series of the same name. In fact, I really enjoyed getting to see the cover of the book pop up in the credits. The premise couldn't be more simple. What if Superman, American icon who also just so happened to be drawn by a Canadian guy, landed in communist Russia as a child instead of idealistic Kansas? And what kind of ripple effect would that have throughout the DC universe and its heroes? Jason Isaac, a veteran performer of live-action movies and animation, has the role of Russian Superman, and I must say he offers a very subtle performance. His Russian accent never once ventures into the realms of mus and squirrel still purity, which, you know, is always a plus. The cool conceit here being that Superman is still very much the inspiring, hopeful guy we all know and love. It's just that his ideology has been colored by Stalin and communism. This is, after all, a Superman who gave all of himself to the Russian state after his friend Svetlana, the Russian version of Lana, told him to for the greater good, and he truly does believe that throughout the whole movie, even though it does bring him down some very dark alleys indeed. Now, I mentioned ripple effects, right? Well, back in America, ultra-capitalist Lex Luthor has been tasked by President Eisenhower himself to deal with the Soviet Superman threat, and much like how Superman of this alternate universe has been colored by his experiences, so has Lex. Without a hero to challenge him, Luthor has more or less conquered all of Metropolis, married Lois Lane, calmed down, and even kept his bright red hair, which is totally canon, by the way. I will admit it is a little off-putting at first that Lex in this movie is voiced by Diedrich Bader, who, you know, most people probably know as the brave and the bold Batman and the Batman from the Harley Quinn show, but he does good in the role trying to bring this very different version of Lex Luthor to life. Throughout the film, we see Luthor and Superman butt heads while continuing to learn and adjust from one another. The real X factor, though, comes in the form of Lois Lane. She might love Lex, but she's truly fascinated by Soviet Superman, and probably my favorite scene in the whole movie, these two debate the merits of their individual nation's style of governance, and both actually end up saying some truly terrifying things without even really thinking about it. Superman Red Sun is also a period piece through and through. In fact, we get many snapshots of many different decades in the Cold War era, from Eisenhower to Kennedy and even a little beyond from that. And again, because it is a period piece, they lean right into stuff like letting the characters smoke, which is actually a pretty big first for these DC animated movies. In fact, I can't remember the last time I've seen a comic character smoke in, well, again, decades. While on the subject, one of my complaints about the last couple of years worth of DC animated movies is once they went digital, once they realized that they could make these unrated or R-rated and not for kids, they really kind of lean too hard on the shocking violence and swearing. Here, though, it's again very subtle and all very deserved. Now, things end up taking a major turn in the life of Soviet Superman when Lois actually gets him to doubt Stalin, and once he finds out about the gulags in Siberia, all bets are off, and the Man of Steel figures that if he can't trust people to make the world a better place, then he's gonna grab the world by the reins and make it better himself, even if that is through force. J.M. DeMatteis, legendary comic writer and scribe of, again, the last handful or so of DC animated movies, as well as the truly wonderful CW Seed Constantine City of Demons, which you should definitely check out, had the writing duties on this movie, and I think he really succeeded in boiling down Red Sun to its most essential parts. We do end up losing pretty much every major side plot from the book, and certain characters' origins get shifted around for the sake of convenience and simplicity, but as far as I'm concerned, it definitely works. Like any good adaptation, the core ideas and themes stay intact, and the movie further goes to extra lengths to be sure to preserve those big, iconic images that we all remember from the book, and translate them pretty damn accurately. Perhaps the newest and most clever thing they do is actually with Wonder Woman, who in the comics she pursued a romantic relationship with Superman to try and strengthen the bonds between the Soviet Union and Themyscira. Here though, they don't really do that because Wonder Woman, wait for it, in the Red Sun universe isn't interested in dudes at all, but still respects Superman as an ally and a friend, and their friendship gets endlessly tested throughout the rest of the movie as Superman's world-saving tactics become more and more tyrannical. Which honestly I think for this adaptation makes for a much more interesting dynamic between these two characters, and also something we haven't seen a million times before in a million other Elseworld stories wherein Superman and Wonder Woman are a couple. Now in the director's chair for this Red Sun outing was Sam Liu, another veteran of DC animation both on TV and in these direct-to-DVD features. I personally think he turns in some of the best work of his career ever here, not just in the action scenes, which are great, especially when Red Sun Superman dukes it out with Red Sun Batman, who in this universe is a violent, murderous anarchist hell-bent on getting revenge on Superman for the death of his parents in the gulags. But more so, I think his talents shine in the quiet, more contemplative moments. I feel like a lot of the reason I didn't like so many of the last couple DC animated features is because they were just so relentless. They never knew when to slow down and let silence help build the mood. Red Sun has a great mood though as we watch a well-meaning Superman drift further and further to the dark side, all in the name of world peace, while similarly Lex Luthor threatens to destroy his marriage and everyone around him just to try and get his own personal white whale, or red whale in this case. But this isn't so much the story of how a good man or good men went bad, but perhaps the most refreshing thing about Red Sun is despite the dark subject matter, there is an underlining theme of hope. Superman and Lex throughout the film see each other as enemies, but by the end they can only solve their respective problems and save the world when they actually start learning from each other as people and becoming heroes in their own right. In summation, I thought Superman Red Sun was one of the best DC adaptations I've seen in a long time, a wonderful companion piece to the original comic work, as well as a worthy addition to the ever-growing pantheon of excellent DC animated productions. All in all, I can say this was good, and I hope the next one is as good so I don't have to take another big long break in between covering these.